Hello everyone, I want to remind you to give me some TLC, touch the subscribe button, like the video and comment. Thank you. Today I would like to briefly discuss the issue of biblical narratives and what I coin the Biblical Narrative Climax. What do I mean? Stories in the Bible tend to correspond with each other. And in the New Testament, for instance, Jesus often serves as a climax to earlier stories in the Old Testament. But also within the Hebrew Bible itself, there are these climaxes. And I want to give two examples where Moses serves as a climax, as a biblical narrative climax to stories that came before. The first one is the issue of what I would coin the firstborn theme. What is it, the firstborn phenomenon? It's when a father, or our Father in heaven, God, chooses a younger son, a second one, the youngest, over the oldest, the firstborn, when there's two brothers or half brothers, and that makes the older one naturally quite jealous. Where do we see it? We see this with Cain and Abel. God chooses Abel's offering and not Cain's sacrifice. Cain gets very jealous and actually kills Abel. So we have here fratricide, a killing of a brother. We see this with Shem and Abraham, they actually are firstborns, but that aspect is not emphasized, but perhaps that's the reason they were chosen, but they actually are exception to the rule. The rule, surprisingly, is that the firstborn is not chosen. And the same way, ultimately, Isaac is chosen and not Ishmael. Jacob is chosen. Well, he's somewhat of a trickster, and through somewhat manipulation, he gets both originally the birthright officially, and then the blessing of his father. And this makes Esau not only envious of Jacob, but also wanting to kill him. Ultimately, they make up. Joseph is chosen upon his older brothers, Reuben, Simon, and Levi, and even Judah, till later on. And this makes the brothers very envious. They're thinking of killing him, then they throw him in a pit with no water, and eventually they sell him to Egypt. The sons of Judah, from Tamar, the older one. Well, there it's a bit, what happens is that the one who came out first originally jumps back in, and then the next one. So the older one is chosen, but really the one before him came out already, partially. Ephraim and Manasseh, again, in this case, actually, it's the grandfather, Jacob, chooses Ephraim, the younger one, over Manasseh, the older. How does Moses serve as the climax of this? Because Moses also chose instead of Aaron. But in this case, God himself testifies that Aaron is very happy. He's going to feel happiness in his heart to know that you were chosen. But furthermore, if in the earlier narratives, Jacob seems to trick Esau, and Joseph rubs it in with his brothers, Moses is on the opposite. He doesn't want to take it on. And he says, send with whoever you send. And some commentators says he means Aaron, even though it's not clear from the simple meaning of the text. But anyway, Moses really doesn't rub it in. And therefore, perhaps because of that, Aaron is not jealous, he's not envious, and they end up great friends. There was some friction between them, but generally nothing even close to fratricide or anything like that. One more example I want to give, and that is the issue of separating God from man. In the pagan world, Mesopotamian, and the Canaanite world, and the Egyptian, upon which the biblical narrative, the Jews come into a birth, we have both gods as very anthropomorphic, meaning maybe human-like. They're jealous, they're envious, they fight, they can kill, they cheat, they do fornication, all kind of things like that. On the other hand, we have heroes that are demigods, heroes that are way above regular humans. So the idea of between gods and humans is not a complete dichotomy. It's sort of some kind of connection. The Bible, the Hebrew Bible, actually trying to say no, there's a complete dichotomy. God is God and man is man. It's trying to get rid of this polytheistic idea where gods are smaller and man is bigger, and they're much closer. They're trying to separate. How do we see this? In the story of Adam and Eve. The serpent tells Adam and Eve, you guys are going to be like God. That's why he doesn't want you to eat. And not only that, after they eat from the fruit of truth and knowledge, God himself says, he's going to be like, they're going to be like one of us if they eat from the tree of life as well. So therefore he's banished. They are banished. Then later we see in the story of the Tower of Babel. The Tower of Babel, they want to build a tower. It may be in Gujarat, in Mesopotamia, but they want to build a tower that reaches God, to be like God, to fight God. So, yeah, he makes many languages and he stops that. Then just before the flood, the sons of God, probably angels, go and kidnap women, earthly women, in order to marry them. Again, for the third time, we have this mixture, no separation. So God straight away decides, and what they do is that they give birth to giants who can live also very long, apparently. And God says, no, that's it. Man can only live 120 years, and we're separating the heavens from the earth. And this idea continues all the way throughout. Now, when Moses comes around, you see that many times the people mistake Moses for God. They don't realize it's God above who's doing it. It's actually, they think it's Moses doing it. And there's many examples for that, but maybe where we can see that the most clearly is that when Moses goes missing, they go build a golden calf and say, this is your God. But God didn't go missing, Moses got missing. But you can see that when Moses is missing, it's as if God is missing for them. And when Moses makes a mistake, he and Aaron, and say, are we going to take water from this rock? And they, like as if they're doing it, not God. And not only that, God tells them to talk to the rock. And they decide, no, we're going to hit it. So Moses is sort of also making this mistake of taking on God's role. And because of that, he is punished not to go into the land. What's the connection between the punishment and the sin? You know, often there's a connection in the Bible. Because if Moses would have taken them out of Egypt, taken them through the desert and brought them into Israel, into Canaan, then he's the Redeemer. He did the whole thing. He took them out, brought them through, and brought them in. So God says, no, you're not going to bring them into the promised land. That Joshua's going to do. Because the only one who does the entire thing, the real Redeemer, is I, God. You, Moses, are just a messenger. So you do part of it, and Joshua will finish. In order that for you, and especially the Israelites understand that Moses is not the Redeemer. He's not God. He's not the Son of God. He's just a human. He's just a messenger. And in that way, he's a climax to that idea of mixing God and man. By his death, he's saying, no, Moses is just another guy. Yes, he was the messenger of God to take out of Egypt, but to be in the promised land, Joshua's going to do. I hope this made sense to you. I hope to revisit this idea in other ways. Thank you very much for listening. As usual, I want to remind you, please, TLC, touch the subscribe button, like the video, and comment. Thank you, and see you next time.